It's 2018. I'm scrolling on the dating app Bumble and I match with this guy. And no, it's not the dating side to it. Yes, it was on a dating app, but no, it wasn't for dating. If you didn't know, Bumble, I think it still does. I haven't used that app in quite a few years, but there's a dating feature, a friends feature, and then a professional networking feature. And I was second year in uni. I was super bummed out with how life was going. I'm 20 years old. I turned 21 in a few months. Basically, I want to make a change. I was done getting on the booze, going out, and not really feeling like I was adding to society in any way. I definitely wasn't doing any actions that aligned to the person I wanted to be in the future. So you can imagine being a 21-year-old just thinking that there was so much more out there for me. I started to seek out other people who either thought like me or felt like there was something more out there. And I didn't actually know where to start. And essentially, Bumble was an app that I was using. And I saw they had this networking feature. And if you want to think about it, it's like LinkedIn meets Tinder. And it didn't take me long to find someone that caught my attention. And this guy was the typical suit and tie, looked put together, looked like he was an entrepreneur. And I reached out to him. And from there, ready with the questions, he was sort of asking me questions in a way where it actually got me to think about what I wanted. And classic sales technique, now that I think of it in hindsight, pretty much tell me where you're at, paint the situation, why is it painful? Why is this a problem for you? And I did that. I was pouring my heart out. I was super raw and vulnerable at the time because bear in mind, I was feeling really depleted emotionally and just completely hating my life. So I was willing to give this guy the time and space to really pick apart what I was going through. So pretty much poured my heart and soul and was super vulnerable where I was at. And then, he asked me, what is your vision, where you want to be? And of course, the most surface level answer I had at the time was, I want to be financially independent. I want financial freedom. I really think this e-commerce drop shipping is the next thing, and I want to go all in on that. I just want to build my own thing because I don't think the traditional 9 to 5 is what's calling me. And already at the time, I was thinking of ways to, start my own business. I was looking at SMMA, social media marketing, how can you create video ads for other businesses, drop shipping, sales, all the classic entrepreneurial vehicles around 2018. And he was like, cool. I'm actually part of this exclusive mentorship program. We have conversations like this. I'm actually connected to a mentor of mine. Him and his partner retired in their 30s, and sometimes they allow select individuals into their seminars. And already I was like, oh yeah, like this is sounding sick. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, tell me more. How do I get myself in here? And it was really positioning this thing as this elusive, high value network that, people like myself would jump at the opportunity at. And he did a great way. He did a really exceptional job at pitching it in a way where it spoke to my, deepest desires and fears. And I was like, tell me more. And he, classic, he pulls it back a bit and he says, obviously we would have to make sure we're aligned and, we get along, and then I can sort of put your name forward to my mentor. And I'm like, cool, what do we do? And he says, I'll give you a book. Let's meet up. Let's meet up at this pizza place. I'll buy you pizza, and I want to give you a book. And I'm like, sweet, let's do it. Didn't have a car at the time. I borrowed my housemate's car. Didn't tell him what I was doing. I was just like, I'm gonna meet up with this business dude, this entrepreneur, and borrowed his car, drove, and I was feeling so good about myself, feeling like I was, this was my big ticket out of this, depressing uni life. And he gave me a book, and it was the first book I ever read from start to finish, and it was a self-help book, and it was The Compound Effect. Still to this day, one of the best books I've probably read. And it was just all about the most simple message of like, it all starts with these tiny little changes in our behavior that will compound and build into momentum, and that momentum will become big, and that will really, allow you to leap forward into this new identity that, you are being called to. And, he bought me pizza, gave me the book, and he was like, I want you to walk away, read it, come back to me with your big takeaways. And I did that. And I never read a book so fast in my life. But not only that, I really absorbed all the messages and all the ideas and the core concepts. And I really applied it, and it really lit a fire in me. And I felt so proud to report back, my findings to this guy that I still didn't know much about. And looking back, a little bit shady, a little bit nervous and on edge, even the way he engaged with me. And it would make sense why that is as I go into this story. But yeah, it was that was essentially the moment. And then where it started to get challenging is eventually when I started getting invited in these rooms. They would host them in these publicly accessible seminar rooms, and everyone's dressed up in ties and dress shirts and all this jazz. And I never liked wearing corporate wear. Just so uncomfortable. I don't know how people enjoy wearing them. I get the energy of being in that, and I get that you feel really great and feel really empowered, but it's just not comfortable. Like, I'll be real, it's just not comfortable. And he told me to dress up, and like all I had at the time was like chino pants from Kmart, and then I think like a cotton on button up shirt, and that's what I wore, and a puffy jacket because it was winter in Melbourne. And it was great. Like, the seminars were awesome. You got some person doing like 10 to 15 minute keynotes, and it's just motivational quote after motivational quote. And being a 21-year-old, I'm just like frantically writing every quote in my notebook so I can try to remember it. And it was, it was dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And after a few sessions, right, they really start to condition you, and you're primed, and you're so saturated in that energy, and you're willing to move mountains to be successful, to be someone who is capable to stand on that stage and deliver that message. And it gets to the point where I start to feel a little bit alert with what's going on, because everyone that talks to me, it's almost like I'm in a Black Mirror episode, and everyone seems to be somewhat robotic, and everyone seems to be speaking in a way where they've been taught a script or a way of speaking, and it's sort of been like implanted in their brain, and it's sort of just like on autopilot. It just didn't feel human. And I'm hypersensitive when people are trying to put on a front. I've always had that sense, and that sense within me was just blaring. It was just going off. And of course, it proved to be right, because eventually they asked me to start selling these products. Start reaching out to friends, start reaching out to people on campus, your family, and this is the way. This is part of building this asset that they start to speak about. And immediately I was like, why? Like, no, doesn't feel aligned at all. And it was just started to become really interesting how they would wrap up self-help and personal development, and your method would be to follow this structure, follow this script, go out to people, do exactly what this guy did to me on this app, and invite them into this elusive network or this seminar room. And then eventually you nurture them, you prime them, and then it's like, okay, cool, like now it's time to build your asset, which is pushing these products in, dressed up in personal development. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people from back home in my hometown who are doing this. And it's funny because none of them ever talk about it openly on social media. So they have to do it in a way where all they can do to market this is post the most cliche motivational quotes as their way of marketing or getting the message out. And alas, I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I reach out, have a conversation with the head honcho, because my mentor, the guy in this suit, who was just a tradie at this point, he really lost control with, his relationship with me. I lost complete trust and respect for this guy just because I felt like I was baited. And, he tells the head honcho, and the head honcho calls me. And I remember vividly, I was at the bus stop at my university and I was already checked out. I was already like, I'm not doing this. I'm mentally out. But obviously you need to formally let them know, right? So this guy, I won't put his name out there, but he calls me, and I can immediately hear the change in his tone, and he's not overly happy about speaking with me, because he knows what's going on. And I pretty much tell him, like, I don't want to continue with this. I'm really here to be curious about something that I want to build for myself, which is like, at the time I wanted to get into freelance videography. I wanted to start doing videos for social media for small businesses. And he planted seeds of doubt, so many seeds of doubt, and it really got to me. And I felt so shit after that phone call, because essentially we went our separate ways. But it's almost like he made sure that he planted enough doubt in my mind for me to come back. And it was so disgusting in the way he did that. And still don't respect that conversation. Don't respect that conversation one bit. But honestly, like, despite that being so challenging, the big takeaway or the realization that I have from that, and I guess the reason why I'm even sharing this, is it was really a crossroads where I really had to ask myself, how willing am I to really back myself in? And it's gonna take a few lonely chapters. It's, gonna mean I'm not gonna have a room full of people backing me and supporting me, but am I willing enough to go all in on myself? Even though I don't know what that looks like, even though the self-doubt and the fear is immense, will I be willing to hold myself in that doubt? And from that conversation, I really had to grab my balls as a 21-year-old and go out into the world, call people, pitch people, shake hands, get into rooms, speak up, tell my story, tell them what I want to do. And I held a lot of shame and a lot of anger and a lot of resentment towards these guys. But looking back, it was, as funny as it is to say, they were essentially the catalyst to my self-development journey. They gave me my first book that I ever read from start to finish. They gave me a ton of audiobooks that, it was generally what I needed at the time. And despite it being the wrong path for me, they just allowed and affirmed in my head that there was another path. That's the main thing. And the even crazier thing to this story is I met my business partner, who was the same age as me at the time, who was running his own videography business, and he too was already just questioning the hell out of this mentorship program. So we were speaking after each seminar, being like, this is so fucked, we need to get out of here. And we actually left together, and we came together and started our own creative agency that we ran for about 2 years. Hey guys, I'm Anthony, this is Christian, and together we're Eggs Creative. A lot came out of this experience, and I guess the way I want to wrap this up, and the reason I share this is, quiet desperation, that feeling and that calling within us to, pick up that call to adventure and put ourselves out there, especially when we're young, or especially when we're, desperate to get out of our old environments. Sometimes it leads us to getting into some strange rooms and deal with some misaligned people and work with some, not so great mentors. But I think what I've learned from that is every mentor, even if it's good or bad, still serves a purpose to us. They still serve a massive purpose on that particular season of our life and our journey. And for me, looking back, I actually got so much from that experience. Despite it not being aligned to me, despite it not being, what was true and what was right for me at the time, I can still sit here and go, I'm grateful for matching with this random dude in a suit and tie who ended up just being a tradie. Like, thank you. Like, thank you for allowing me to have a peek into your world. It's not something that I wanted to, spend a lot of time in, but thank you for showing me that there was something else out there. And to that guy who had that conversation and planted all those seeds in my doubt, thank you. Because I had to go through that. I had to really back myself in, and I had to choose. Like, it was a moment where I chose myself. So whenever someone leaves a job or quits a business or leaves anything that there's no true alignment for them, I say congrats. I say I'm excited for you, because you've just, made a decision in yourself. And that's sometimes one of the most hardest things to do when so many people around you are telling you to make decisions based off their self-interest. So yeah, that's the story. Bit of a longer one, but just no script, no structure. I just wanted to go off the cuff, and quite an interesting title, but a lot to unpack from that. So may do a lot more raw shares like this one, but if you enjoyed it, if you've experienced something similar, or maybe you've had a dodgy story with a mentor in the past, would love to know in the comments. But apart from that, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and go and tell more stories.